Hey guys, happy holidays. Today I'm doing a video about one of my favorite holiday traditions, and that is getting a fresh cut tree in my living room. This is something I've been doing steadily for the past 5 years, but growing up we used to alternate between a fresh tree sometimes and using our fake tree sometimes. Me and my dad are huge fans. My entire family actually just loves the smell of fresh cut pine, and it's such a nice way to get a little festive in your home. Sometimes just bringing in a fresh wreath or bringing in a fresh tree can really change up the vibe and just makes it all old-timey. I love that old-time Christmas feeling. So today I wanted to share my tips for sustaining that tree through the holidays. For those of you who have always wanted to have a fresh cut tree at home and just don't know where to begin, I thought I would share my tips with you guys. So my first tip is to definitely get a tree from somewhere that you feel has a good reputation as a nursery or a farm. Going to cut your own tree can also be a lot of fun if you choose, do a little research and find out where to go. That will give you a great experience, some hot cocoa or an apple cider thrown in there. That would be a really, really fun day out and a fun tradition to start with your own family. I love to go to Sheridan Nurseries. That's one of my go-to places for getting a tree because they hang the trees actually from, they suspend them from the roof, I guess, from some poles, scaffolding. And when they hang them like that, you actually get the perfect visual of the tree and what it will look like when it's in your home and in your family room. So you can definitely really picture the shape and see what you like, the type of fullness, the type of shape. I go for kind of a slender cone. That's what we like. We want it to be a little full. We don't want to have bare patches in there. But it's really fun to look for that perfect tree for your family too. So first tip is definitely go somewhere where you feel like you can trust the people that are selling you the tree. The second tip is to make sure the tree is freshly cut. So it's one thing for it to be chopped down in the woods somewhere and then brought into a nursery or into a farm, but it's another thing to have it again sliced off right before you come home with it. It's kind of like buying fresh flowers. You want it to have a fresh cut right before you take it home, because basically a tree is just like any other plant. Like when you cut it, it sort of seals off that the stem where it gets the water from. So when a tree has been cut, it starts to get the sap and seal up that cut so that it's protected. Now if you want it to start drinking water again, you have to have a fresh cut. So just maybe an inch or two, depending on what size you want the tree. Sometimes the stem, the trunk is very long, so you want it to be shorter so it'll look better in your home. You can figure that out, but at least an inch is what you want to chop off again, like a fresh cut right before you come home with that tree. So tip number 2 is to get a fresh cut on the tree. Tip number 3 is to buy something with your tree that will help to sustain the tree throughout the season. So we always bring home Stay Fresh, which is a tree preservative, I guess they call it, and it keeps your tree fresher longer. Now that's one option, that's just the option I use, but you can also do sugar, I've heard. Some people do aspirin. You can do some research and figure out what you can do to make sure that your tree lasts longer and lasts through the season. Another tip for that is that I try to postpone or push back buying my tree until later on, either early December or the last week of November. So I don't do it too early because basically the tree won't survive through the holidays. I like to have a tree that will be up for Christmas and then beyond that too. So at least a week or two into January is how long I like to keep my tree. So I definitely want to get it at the end of November or early December so that I can get the most out of my tree and enjoy it through the holiday season. So another thing you don't want to do is put your tree too close to either your fireplace or a vent or even the window if it's a sunny window. So I did that one year actually, and I put it right in front of a vent to cover it, in fact, and the tree was like toast before the end of the season. It was so brittle, it was crumbling. We made it work, but it didn't really have that fresh look definitely on the side that was against the vent or near the vent. It was all dried up, definitely not the best look. And also safety wise, it's not a safe thing to do either. So you wanna make sure that it's not kindling and you want it to keep that freshness as long as possible. The next tip is to water your tree. People forget that it's a living thing, it's a plant, it's like flower. Like if you want your bouquet to last longer, you change the water. So same thing with the tree. You want to make sure you're checking the water every day to make sure it has enough. I find that the first 2 days, the tree will drink like a liter of water. So we're always kind of checking. And then later it gets a little bit slower with the drinking, but at first, that first fresh cut, for the first few days, it's definitely drinking a lot. So I check it every day, sometimes multiple times a day, to make sure that the water is at least like 2 inches above the cut of the tree trunk. The next thing you need to bring home a fresh cut tree is a tree stand. You want to have that before you actually bring home the tree, because you need a place to put it, and it's going to make sure that your tree stands up right. You want one that you can adjust, because sometimes the tree trunk is thicker and it's an older tree, and sometimes it's really thin. So you need one that has a little give. Like I have one that has 3 pegs, so you can like screw it in and make sure that it's the right size for your tree trunk that year. You also want to make sure that you have enough space to put presents under your tree. So make sure that there's enough trunk that you leave, or when you select your tree even, you don't want one that has too short of a stump or too short of a trunk at the bottom, because you won't have a place to put anything. All the branches will be very low to the floor. So you want it to have a little bit of space. Like as you can see here, I have a lot of space to put boxes and gifts and things like that. And one more thing that I would recommend is to hide your tree stand is a nice tree skirt, and you can change it up yearly, or you can use the same one, but something that will cover that like plastic or that metal is really a good tip as well. So I think that's it, guys. Usually I find that my tree lasts through the season, like I said, from late November until early January, and I really enjoy having it in my home. And once you're finished with the tree, you remove all your ornaments, and then you can get a plastic bag from the place you buy it from, or you can wrap it in an old sheet, take it outside, and there's a curb pickup usually once or twice a season where they will pick up your fresh cut tree. There's one more thing I forgot actually. I should probably explain, because you guys are wondering, I have a tree in my family room, there's nothing on it. That's actually one of the biggest tips, and you want to make sure that your tree has time to kind of hang out, relax in its new home and settle in. It's a guest for the holidays, right? So you want it to kind of chill out. So you need your tree to rest for a while. A lot of people will put ornaments and stuff right on it right away as soon as they bring it home. That's fun. But the tree actually relaxes over the first few days. So I like to wait at least 24 hours before putting anything on my tree, because it comes, when you open it at first from the packaging, it's a little bit tight, or even if it's just been cut as a protective kind of thing, the tree just tightens up its branches. Once it starts getting water again, it has a fresh cut, it's gonna relax and open up. And especially in the atmosphere of your home, like the warm air is totally different from being outside in a field. So it's just gonna fall. And if you put ornaments on, your ornaments are gonna not be in the place that you put them. So I like to wait a little bit before I put string lights and ornaments and things like that on my tree. But yeah, those are my tips. Hope you guys like them, and I hope you try them out yourself. If you've always wanted to get a fresh cut tree and it was, you just haven't done it yet, maybe this is the year for you, who knows. But if you have your own tips as well, if you're somebody who always gets a fresh cut tree, let me know what your tips are, and I would love to try them out in my own home. Thanks guys, and have a happy holiday.